Our topic for today comes from a friend who says, I no longer think that I am my thoughts. However, when it comes to we are all one, I only partially feel that. I can feel at one with nature, even God at times. But when it comes to other people, I don't feel at one with anyone. Maybe that we are all humans. I am currently working on the attachments, but I am finding it hard to let go of some. And I don't feel I am the divine because when I pray, I would be praying to myself. Maybe I am a spark of the divine. I find questions are hard to ask, but I feel part of my awakening is I need to start asking and opening up more and not caring what others might think of me. I am embracing my divine confidence. This is good. One of the most important things on the spiritual journey is to be open, to ask questions, and to be curious. Now, when it comes to the idea that we are all one, that often we might not feel like we are one with other people, and I would say that don't worry about this too much. This knowing, this understanding will deepen over time. What happens is that we live our life as a separate person, a separate individual. And on the spiritual journey, we come to realize that separation is an illusion and that we are all one. At least that's what the spiritual gurus tell us. But rarely is this ever what we experience on a daily basis. And you see, the way that I've experienced this is that, let's imagine that there are two batteries. One battery says person, and one battery says being. This battery involves you as a separate individual, and this battery represents you as the universal consciousness. If you never embark on a spiritual journey, this battery probably will never get anywhere close to being full. We've spent our whole lives reinforcing this narrative that we are a person, that we are a separate individual. This is how everybody lives their lives, and so there's no reason for us to think any different. And you see, to the degree in which this person battery is full, is the degree in which we will experience life from a space of separation. And the more we remain as being, the person battery begins to drain of itself. And as the battery begins to drain, you begin to naturally recognize your oneness with everything. But it's not like if you see a painting, you say, oh, I identify with that painting. Or if you see a couch, you say, I am one with this couch. For me, it's not so much as a feeling as it is just a knowing or an intuitive understanding. Some people may viscerally feel like they are one with everything. This is what happens when you take too many psychedelics. I'm just kidding. But you will experience that if you take psychedelics. Now what happens is that when you recognize your true nature as just the pure presence that is found in this present moment, this person battery will drain, but we will still get caught in old habits, old conditioning, old ways of thinking. So when you get into a situation with someone and they really get on your nerves, they really grind your gears, you might get pulled into personal identity for a moment. And you act from the mindset of, you are doing this to me. There is you and there is other. But as you begin letting go of your attachments to this personal identity, you will begin recognizing that God is the one force working through all things. That the universe is really one divine intelligence. And that people do not really exist. And that every experience is like God speaking to you in some way. And the deeper you resonate in this truth, the more you realize that, well, things never actually are happening to you. Things are just happening. And it is our mind that labels these things good or bad, right or wrong, favorable or unfavorable. The more you are heavily identified with the person, with separation, the more you will experience suffering and resistance when life isn't going the way you want it to. And throughout this process of draining this person battery, situations will come up that will trigger you and give you the opportunity to let go of this personal identity, to remember your true place as being, and to return to the present moment. This is how we uncondition ourselves over time, But don't worry if you still feel like a separate being, working with other separate individuals, because over time, this illusion will dissipate, so long as you continue to remember your true place. And this process is exactly the same for letting go of attachments. You actually do not need to let go of anything. What you are is already free from all attachments. It is simply our lack of recognition of our true nature as consciousness or awareness or pure being. Letting go implies a kind of doing. I am letting go of my attachments to be free or to be light. And practically speaking, this might be how you experience life. But really all that is required is remembering your true place, getting caught in the illusion, and then returning to truth, getting caught back in separation and remembering your unity. But I do wish to make the point that this is not a philosophical thing. Like we might think that somebody gets on our nerves and then we try to remember, oh no, we are all one, we are all one. But that doesn't change how you feel about the person. It's just trying to use philosophy to almost spiritually bypass in a way. But what happens is that as you remember your true place, only then do all of these kind of extra philosophical ideas come into play, like we are all one, or that I am letting go of my attachments. Because when you remember what you really are, the attachments fall away automatically. You don't have to do anything. And also, you don't have to remember or think that we are all one. It's just the way you see the world now. And so the spiritual practice from then on is getting pulled into separation, into being a person, and then remembering, and then returning to illusion, and then returning to truth. And you kind of do this ping-ponging back and forth. But even in this ping-ponging back and forth, you are still there as awareness, awaring of this ping-ponging. So you might feel that, okay, I am the one ping-ponging. I am the one falling into separation, into personhood, and then I am the one returning to oneness with everything, returning to my true place as consciousness, as being, as awareness. But you are the one watching yourself ping-pong. Once you recognize this one, then it doesn't matter the contents of your experiences. You are free. But so long as this is not clearly seen, or perhaps I might say, so long as this is not clearly known, then you will kind of get stuck in the psychological drama of being on a spiritual journey. Which is fun. It's not a big deal. But the way I see it is that you really want to focus on realizing yourself as awareness before kind of milking your experiences for all they got. What I mean by that is, for instance, I can play my role, this character, as a spiritual teacher or someone on the spiritual journey, living my life, living it to the fullest. And I can enjoy that, but I am under no illusion that that is me. It is like watching a movie of myself, watching my life unfold as it does, free from all the experiences. And even if I get angry or sad or irritated, that is seen arising and falling back into myself, the awareness. Now, it may not feel like you are the divine, but that is only because the person battery still has some juice left. And prayer seems kind of weird because, well, then wouldn't you just be praying to yourself if you are the divine? And it's funny, prayer was always the one thing that I was consistent on every single day for many years. And then once I came to the self-realization thing, recognizing my true nature as the divine, I actually stopped praying. Because I thought, well, I'm just praying to myself. But then I heard a talk by Swami Sarvapriyananda, who was talking about that this is actually a common thing that happens in Advaita Vedanta, that people kind of stop their spiritual practices because they've come to this newfound knowledge that they are God. So why bother with all of these spiritual practices if you are that? But he says that this is an error in mindset, that you should not stop your spiritual practices just because you've recognized yourself as the divine. And so I started praying again. And here's the trick. I know that I am God. I know that I am the divine. But I am also enjoying myself as separate from the divine. Because without separation, you cannot experience God. Oftentimes I talk about, and other people likely talk about, that separation is a bad thing, or that the ego is the devil, or that the ego is evil, or that separation is the source of all suffering in the world. And these things have truth to them. But at the same time, separation is precisely necessary. The ego is necessary. The mind is necessary. What is not necessary is identification with them. And you see, the majority of who or what we are is unseen. This outer body and this mind is like the tip of the iceberg. Most of what we are is underneath the surface, underneath the water. And as you could imagine, there seems to be a kind of separation between the surface and what is underneath. Unless you are an avatar or an incarnation of God, you will probably not have this idea that you are really God. Like Jesus Christ knew that he was God, but he didn't know that he was God from a place of ego or mind identity. I imagine he simply understood that this was just the cards that he was dealt. And where a lot of people go wrong on the spiritual journey is that they get caught up with all of these kind of philosophical ideas. Like we are all one, or that I am the divine and I am God. But they're still operating from an ego mind identity. They call it the spiritual ego. Sometimes it is better to know less. That's why I like to say, depending on what you want, if you want freedom and enlightenment, then 99% of all spirituality is a distraction and is a waste of time. And you see, this is why I emphasize finding freedom first. Because if you find what really matters, then you can go and play with all the cool ideas of this world. All the ideas of the universe and the secrets and the manifestation and the law of attraction and all the occult esoteric knowledge and crystals. Whatever you like. But until you find freedom, what's the point of all this? They will not truly help you. They might be able to change your life a bit, change the external circumstances just a bit. But remember, it doesn't matter where you go. You always take yourself with you. And the reason why I say find freedom first is because when you enter into this state of freedom, through recognizing your true nature, you bring harmony and light to all of your experiences. And so it doesn't matter what happens to you. Not only do you recognize it as the will of God, but you see God working through others, working through the experiences, and working through you. And in this, there is no resistance to life, because you know that everything is perfect, that all is right in the world, and that there are no problems or mistakes, at least from this higher level perspective. If any of this is confusing for you, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Much peace and many blessings.